I welcome you to tonight's event. We're fortunate to have three remarkable writers with us this evening: Shauna Singh Baldwin, David Bergen, and Annabel Lyon. Through these authors' works tonight, we'll be transported to India, Manitoba, and ancient Greece. While each of their books is grounded in its own particular place and time of socio-political change, all of the stories are about women responding to their world around them, and how and why they're moved to redefine their role within it. Their assigned and chosen roles, their gendered and individual identities, their world's constraints, boundaries, and liberties. These are books about the need for and value of everyone having basic choice and independence, and of voice.
Amanjit Singh has arrived on a pre-dawn flight from Bombay to find the speared iron gates at the foot of the driveway locked. He's shouting, "Open up," and swearing. His taxi driver's honking, the neighbors' dogs are barking, and minor birds screech. Damini snatches up her dupatta and drapes it across her chest, slips into her rubber sandals, and rushes downstairs. As she runs down the driveway, she yells again and again that she's coming, she's sorry, it was her fault for sleeping so soundly. As soon as she unlocks the double gates and pushes them open, he strides past her, bounds up the driveway, dashes upstairs, and begins shouting at his mother. Mimsab is standing at the front door of her apartment, fumbling with the zip of her dressing gown. Confronted by her son's ferocious look, she gazes first at Amanjit's lips, then over his shoulder at Damini, her eyes huge and questioning. This turbaned man, who Damini knew when he was still coaxing his beard with coconut oil, towers over his mother and shouts, "You knew I was coming and you locked me out of my father's house." Aman could be yawning or yelping for all Memsab knows. He should speak slowly. He should remember Memsab can't lip read properly through a mustache and beard, even a tidily rolled, hair-netted beard such as his. Damini ducks past them through the doorway and takes her place behind Memsab. She lays her hand gently on Memsab's shoulder. "Be more respectful, Amanji," says Damini, her respectful G coming with effort.
She worked that summer before the wedding as an operator at the telephone office in Eden, taking care of the switchboard. She wore earphones and overheard conversations she should not have been privy to, was in fact expected to turn off the connection. But there were times when a certain inflection in the voice or the sultry response of a woman made her hang on to the conversation a little longer than required. She discovered that Mrs. Corney Duick was an incredible gossip, and that Ed Weens, who owned a chain of grocery stores throughout southern Manitoba, was probably having an affair with his secretary, Leona. Ed would often call her long distance when he was out of town. Hope would patch him through and hear Leona's voice answer, and once, before she could turn him off, Ed said, "Sweetheart." It quickened her breath and made her queasy as well. She didn't like the power of that knowledge. Roy liked to call her as well. He'd dial 0, and when she answered, "Hello, operator," he'd say, "I just wanted to hear your voice." And they'd talk, and sometimes at length, though she would have to keep cutting him off and then come back to him, and so their conversations were elliptical and disjointed. One night he phoned her and said that he was driving up to Fort Frances the following morning just for the day. He had to deliver some parts. Would she like to come along? She said she might. She had the day off, and she'd never been to Fort Frances before. "We'll take the American route," he said, "though it's not much different, but at least you can say you visited Minnesota." Later, after the trip, she would realize that she had taken quite a risk in going along with Roy. What turned out to be a romantic 2 days might just as easily have dissolved their relationship if Roy had been a different man. But he wasn't. He was Roy.
Clea sets me to memorizing aphrodisiacs. Not the hocus-pocus of Perpolis's world, so much as the kind of science that would have pleased my daddy. Mostly, Clea explains, we prescribe seediness: quince, sesame, pomegranate, olive oil for lubricant, honey for sweetness. I must look stupid because she says, "Not off a spoon." I learn the language of sex, a language hidden in plain sight. Tumbling chariots, visiting the sausage cellar, the double skull, the smelter, the trireme, the lioness on the cheese grater. I did not make that one up. They laugh and laugh. They kiss and sigh and cry out. I sleep between Clea and the wall, facing the wall while she services Candalis, who favors the wicker basket on horseback, and later another midwife who shares with Clea a sparrow's breakfast. No one will touch you, she whispers over her shoulder, sensing my sleeplessness deep in the night. I told them you were mutilated and in great pain. Thank you, I whisper.